Good evening and thank you for joining us on India Business Hour. I'm Parikshit Luthra and here are the headlines we are tracking at this hour. The government amends rules for minimum shareholding of listed public sector enterprises, expands the scope to allow them exemption for specified periods. The exemption will remain valid even if the PSU is divested.
I get excited about sort of even the unique things that are happening in India using the cloud, and that's really definitely a real departure from the previous era.
Satya Nadella says that he's excited about the cloud adoption in India, highlights that the unique things happening in India is a departure from the previous era, says India has the potential to lead in the cloud plus artificial intelligence era. Sohail Samir quits as the CEO of BharatPe, transitions to the role of a strategic advisor. CFO Nalin Negi appointed as interim chief while the board searches for a new CEO. Sources say Samir had indicated an intent to quit as CEO months ago, and the decision was mutually agreed upon with the board. The parent company of ShareChat and short video app Moj reports a loss of 3,000 crore rupees in FY22. Its losses have doubled from the previous financial year. Revenue has also increased from 80 crore rupees to nearly 350 crore rupees. CBI expands the ambit of its investigation in the ICICI-Videocon loan case, seeks details of 10 other high-value loans disbursed by ICICI Bank to Videocon between 2012 and 2018. CBI sources tell CNBC-TV18 that Venugopal Dut said he was arm twisted to transfer 64 crore rupees to New Power Renewables when his statement was recorded in absence of the coachers. Adani Enterprises will be paying an additional 48 rupees per share to those who sold their shares in the NDTV open offer. This to match the price that was paid to NDTV founder, promoter Pranoy Roy and Radhika Roy, who sold most of their stake to the conglomerate last week. Thousands of employees of 3 state-owned power distribution companies in Maharashtra plan a 3-day strike starting midnight tonight. They are protesting against a parallel license sought by Adani Electricity to distribute power in areas it currently does not operate in. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh inaugurates crucial infrastructure projects in Arunachal Pradesh. This was his first visit to the state post at the Tawang face-off between Indian Army and Chinese troops last month. Singh said India has every capability to thwart challenges along the border. 5-judge Constitution bench holds that no additional restrictions can be imposed on free speech of ministers and lawmakers, adds that their comments cannot be attributed to the government of the day. Justice Nagaratna, however, says that indiscreet speech is a cause of concern, urges political parties to control their ministers by developing a code of conduct. Let's start with the day's market action. Sensex gained over 120 points and the Nifty moved back above 18,200 as stock markets ended the second trading session of 2023 in the green. A late rally in bank stocks aided the recovery on Dalal Street. Midcap index also managed to keep their heads above the water. From stocks to gold now, prices of the yellow metal have been soaring in India. It has hit the highest levels in 2 years. Globally, the price of gold has been moving higher ahead of the US Federal Reserve's latest policy meeting. With predictions of a global recession in 2023, many analysts are expecting gold prices to hit record highs this year. Focusing on an important story aimed at IDBI, apparently, in a bid to smoothen its strategic divestment process, the government has changed the definition of a government company with respect to the minimum 51% shareholding. Not just that, the government has also eased the 25% minimum public shareholding norm for any listed center, state or PSU-owned company. Now, this was a rule that was applicable since 2021. It has been expanded now. Sapna Das joins us to explain what these key changes are. Sapna, tell us what will be the benefit to IBI and India's divestment roadmap?
I think the government has changed the rules in terms of a lot of CPSEs and PSBs meeting that 25% minimum public shareholding norm, keeping 2 things in mind. Number one, an overall exemption, or rather an extension of exemption, is required for some CPSEs and PSBs at least, where the public float is very low at the moment. That's one. Second, of course, in terms of meeting the strategic disinvestment goal, here again, those companies which are to be privatized and where the public float is quite low at the moment, I think also trying to give them some kind of a comfort, or rather a message to the potential suitors. For example, IDBI Bank could be a fit case. Public float is somewhere around 6% odd. Even after change in management, the bank is under a strategic disinvestment process at the moment. So even once it's privatized and change of management takes place, it will be difficult for the new promoter to just step up the MPS from the current 6% to 25 odd percent. Hence, the dispensation for exemption will also apply to those companies which are being privatized, and the government will specifically notify the deadline for that extension of exemption. We are given to understand that probably they're mulling on a 2-year extension. So that will come through at some point in time, and this is the overall aim. The overall aim is to give comfort to those CPSEs and PSBs which have yet to meet the MPS norms of 25 odd percent, and also to facilitate strategic disinvestment. This is removal of another regulatory hurdle as far as the strategic stake sales are concerned.
The government has also additionally made a provision in the notification that if you grant such an exemption for a specified period, then that exemption will carry even if the entity is privatized. So clearly this is aimed at the IDBI Bank.
With the voting of public so low, the 75%, even if it is 75%, there is a power available in most of the companies with the promoters to pass this. So that objective has failed. That is one. Second part is the liquidity part. Liquidity is not a function of percentage. It is a function of number of shares that are with the public. And even if the large number of shares are with the public, institutions like LIC or banks or some FIIs, they keep on holding and sticking to their investment for 25 years or something like this. Because LIC, if they are holding a share, they do not sell on a daily basis.
All right. Remember, the EOI for IDBI is likely to be issued by the Finance Ministry this month, and the government is hoping to complete the strategic divestment process in IDBI by the end of this fiscal. Moving on to an important story now. Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella says that he's excited about the cloud adoption in India, highlights that the unique things happening in the country is a departure from the past, says India has the potential to lead in the cloud plus artificial intelligence segments.
And we see tremendous momentum today when it comes to cloud adoption. In fact, when I think about Microsoft, that's been the big, when in the client server era, we sold a few servers in India. But in the cloud era, it's a completely different ballgame, right? When I look at every business and the cloud consumption, it's tremendous to see. We see Adani choosing Azure for its expansion, HFDC, using it, in fact, to consolidate all of the data platforms. And, Yes Bank built their super app. So tremendous adoption of cloud. And in fact, the more and more I talk to my partners and customers here, I get excited about sort of even the unique things that are happening in India using the cloud. And that's, really definitely a real departure from the previous era.
All right, let's move on and focus on BharatPe, which had made headlines in 2022. Sohail Samir has quit as the CEO of the company. The company said that Samir will step down as CEO and will assume the role of a strategic advisor from the 7th of January. CFO Nalin Negi has been appointed as interim chief while the board searches for a new CEO. Ritu Singh joins us now with the latest. Ritu, what's the company's succession plan now?
Well, the spate of exits at BharatPe continue, with the company now announcing that its current CEO, Sohail Samir, will be stepping down from his position as the CEO effective the 7th of January and transition into his new role as a strategic advisor for the company. And in the meantime, the CFO, which is Nalin Negi, is going to be acting as the interim CEO while the board looks for the next chief executive officer of BharatPe. Now, we've been given to understand that this decision to move on from his CEO position was mutually agreed upon between Sohail Samir and the board of the company. We understand that Sohail had expressed his intent to move on from BharatPe to the board several months ago, and the board also wanted to expedite the search for the next CEO because they knew of this decision in order to stabilize the ship ahead of the IPO, which is planned for 2 years later, and therefore the decision was mutually agreed agreed upon. But that said, Suhail Sameer was hired by Ashni Grover, so this will be sort of a clean slate for both the board and for Suhail Sameer also to start over in his full-time capacity as an angel investor. Remember, he's already made a few key investments and he wants to take that up as a full-time job. Rajneesh Kumar, the chairman of BharatPe, in his statement acknowledged Suhail Sameer's role, and he also said that they recognize the need to dedicate time and resources into finding the next CEO. And Suhail Sameer also confirming that he will look forward to the next phase of his journey, which is going to be as a full-time investor.
All right, thank you very much, Ritu Singh, for joining us. Now, the Department of Industrial Policy and Promotion is working on a new industrial policy which will be sent to the Cabinet for approval. The proposals include more funding for industries through a development finance institution. Latest in the government's electric vehicle push. Commerce and Industries Minister Piyush Goyal held a meeting with major players from the auto industry to discuss standards of battery swapping. Sources say more consultations would be needed before a final decision can be taken on battery swapping standards. The latest in the ICICI Bank Videocon loan case. Chanda Kochar, her husband Deepak Kochar, and Videocon Group promoter Venugopal Dut continue to remain in judicial custody. The CBI has also expanded the ambit of its investigation. So far, it was only looking at loans disbursed by ICICI to Videocon between 2009 and 2011. But now sources say the agency is investigating 10 more high-value loans that were disbursed to Videocon Group by ICICI between 2012 and 2018. Satya Nadella gets us the details on this crucial development.
Sources have told CNBC-TV18 that in ICICI-Videocon loan fraud case, CBI has increased the ambit of its investigation. Till now, CBI was investigating 6 high-value loans which were given by ICICI Bank to Videocon group of companies between 2009 and 2011. But now, CBI is also investigating 10 more high-value loans which were disbursed by ICICI Bank to Videocon group of companies between 2012 till 2018. Sources have told CNBC-TV18 that CBI has also written to ICICI Bank and has sought details of all these 10 high-value loans. Apart from that, talking about the investigation in the case, Venugopal Dut, who is one of the accused in the case and the main beneficiary according to CBI. So when he was confronted with the Kochars at that time, he said the 64 crore rupee amount which was transferred by his company to Deepak Kochar's New Power one day after receiving a loan of 300 crore rupee, that was a genuine business investment. But when CBI recorded his statement, when he was questioned alone at that time, Venugopal Dut claimed, and this is what the sources have told us, that to his statement to CBI, Venugopal Dut claimed that the reason he transferred those 64 crore rupees to Deepak Kochar's firm was because he was arm twisted. Talking about the investigation, CBI as of now is investigating the case and is likely to file a charge sheet soon. All the 3 accused are in judicial custody till 10th of January.
All right. Thank you very much, Satya Nadella, for joining us with that important story. Let's take a look at the key stories now from the startup space. Arundhati Ramnan joins us with a wrap. Arundhati, please tell us what's been happening in the startup industry.
There's been a lot of action from the startup world, so let's begin. ShareChat and short video app Mojo's parent company saw its losses balloon to 2,988 crore rupees in FY22, doubling from 1,460 crore rupees reported in the previous fiscal year. According to regulatory filings, revenue from operations increased many folds to nearly 347 crore rupees, up from 80 crore rupees in FY21, growing over 331%. Now, Tata Digital's president Mukesh Bansal stepped away from the day-to-day operations of Tata Neu. As per a report, Bansal will no longer be involved in Tata Neu's key businesses, but he might continue to be in an advisory role. Remember, Mukesh Bansal joined Tata Digital after the company invested $75 million in Bansal's CureFit. Now, fintech player Zaggle files IPO papers with SEBI. The IPO comprises a fresh issue of equity shares worth 490 crore rupees and an offer for sale component of 1.05 crore stocks. Rural household-focused lender Sarvagram Solutions closes its Series C funding round at $35 million, led by venture capital fund Eleva Equity. Other investors that participated in the round were Elevation Capital, Temasek, and TVS Capital funds. Meanwhile, Elon Musk's SpaceX will raise $750 million in a new round of funding that will value the company at $137 billion, say reports. Andreessen Horowitz will likely lead this new funding round. Early investors in SpaceX include Founders Fund, Sequoia Gigafund, and many others. Electric car maker Tesla delivered a record 1.3 million vehicles last year, which was 40% more than what it did in 2021. This came after the company delivered over 405,000 vehicles in the last 3 months of 2022. However, this was lower than estimates on slowing demand, rising interest rates, and worry of a recession. Vehicle deliveries in the fourth quarter were lesser than what Tesla produced, and this shortfall is unusual for the company. With that, it is back to you.
All right. Thank you very much, Arundhati, for joining us with that important update. We're going to take a short break here on CNBC-TV18, but when we return, we will get you an important story from the Supreme Court, and this is a 5-judge constitution bench holding that no additional restrictions can be imposed on free speech of ministers and lawmakers. More details when we're back.